think it's not going to be a near-term phenomenon. We are looking at a 10, 15-year journey here. So when you think about the days when electricity generation was happening, and everybody had their own power plants and generating electricity to the thing, there were people looking after those captive units, right? Before you had large conglomerates pretty much serving, providing electricity on tap. Now, people keep comparing IT and electricity as utilities and saying that's where we're heading with cloud. Now, the only thing is there's a lot more complexity in delivering IT as a utility than electricity. Now, IT as a utility actually runs on business logic, on business processes, on business competency, right? So there's a lot of variances. In electricity, you're talking about two standards, 240 volt or 110 volt, and that's pretty much it. You take IT, the last count, there are in excess of 50 to 60 standards in the way you could do things in IT, just on core standards. So the concerns about people of, the IT department is going to disappear, I think, it's too early to get excited about that. I think it's going to be a journey. There will be change in skill sets. No more would an organization rely on core development skill sets or core system administrator skill sets. That you can source from a cloud provider. On certain areas. I'll give you an example. When I was, coming up my IT career, messaging, experts were gurus. They were the email messaging experts. Who could talk the SMTP conversion into MX and so on, working on the Exchange platform. Today, really in an internal IT department, you don't need those messaging experts because email can be sourced as a service, with the requisite service levels and the data security. So those sorts of, skill set transformations happening. But if you look at the time horizon for that to happen, it's been in excess of 10, 15 years just on the email stuff. I think the key for the CIO is really the traditional CIOs to start thinking about, do they have the right, commercial and sourcing expertise within their organization? Are they capable of negotiating the right contracts? Are they capable of understanding the risk? If you can understand the risk, you can put in some mitigations. You understand the security obligations of your data, the privacy obligations, and how do you construct the contracts. I think if you got those two buckets of expertise and skill sets in your organization, you're actually way ahead of the competition, right? That's the self-assessment any CIO who's embarking on this journey need to make, coming from a traditional background where they ran large shops, where they had large application development maintenance shops, data centers operations. Do they have that capability? Now, people might say, oh, yeah, I can write a contract, I know how to do it. It's just kind of more than that. And these are two skill sets. I think a couple of key questions they should be asking. How is service levels managed? What is the recourse if there's a breach in service levels? Where is my data stored? Who's got access to my data? Which jurisdiction is it stored? Actual proof of the commitments that the provider is making. In terms of the data security and the recovery of the data, that's crucial. What happens? You really need to do scenario planning of what happens if the provider goes out of business. Can I get access to my data? Is my data portable? Tomorrow I decide to cancel my contract with this particular provider. Is it portable? What are the transaction costs? What are the transition costs? So that they understand it. So really, get into the fundamental of you're handing over your core data, and you start from the data perspective to a third party. What are the risks associated with that? If you start asking the questions based on that and do your scenario planning, a couple of things will emerge. You'll know your financial outcome, so to make sure if the business case really stacks up. You will understand and satisfy your auditor to make sure that yes, the data is secure, it is protected, it complies with all the regulations that it needs to comply with. And the third thing, from an operational perspective, you have a very good handle on how the service levels are managed and what recourses do you actually have if a service level is breached, and the remedy that they will actually provide. And then sort of get into the technical details of redundancy and all the usual questions that need to be asked. So if you cover these three things, I think you're really raring to go into the cloud journey.